we essentially knew that, or at least we know as middle schoolers or middle school administrators, that we have sixth graders who come to us that aren't necessarily ready to be in middle school, but they've passed all their classes, and this is essentially the next logical succession for them. So what we've done at Salem is that we have implemented a team known as Team Acceleration. And I'm going to talk about the two stages because we are in the second year of implementing Team Acceleration. And during the 2011-2012 school year, that's right, I'll do this. During the 2011-2012 school year, Team Acceleration was basically for those students who struggled academically when they were in elementary school. They didn't pass their SOLs. It was also for those students who just might not socially be prepared for middle school, or who were having some anxiety issues as well. So we developed Team Acceleration as a two-teacher team. It was essentially the one-room schoolroom model. Students took all 4 classes with these 2 teachers, a general ed teacher and then a special ed teacher for the collaborative environment. And they went out for their electives, and then they also received intensive basically support from student support services, as well as our fabulous Communities in Schools program. We really couldn't make Team Acceleration work without them. These students participated in projects. They went on field trips. The learning that took place within that classroom was a true interdisciplinary approach. When I would go observe a classroom on Team Acceleration, even though the classroom might have been math at the time, the teachers were still pulling out reading strategies that students would need to be able to be more successful within the language arts and the social studies environment. So as we fast forwarded to 2012, 2013, we begin our planning process. Well, let me go ahead and talk about our success stories first. I'm sorry. Last year, 100% of our students in the Success program did get promoted. Our school spelling bee champion actually came from the Team Acceleration. In addition, students really, their behavior had improved from the previous year. They were motivated to come to school, and when we interviewed students who were participants in Team Acceleration, they really truly felt like the environment within their classroom felt like a family atmosphere. They felt like the teachers truly cared for the students, and they really ended up looking out for one another, which was really, really important. Now here's, as far as the data goes, the more impressive side of Salem, of the Team Acceleration. Here are SOL scores, and these are our SOL scores compared to all of our 6th graders last year. Now keep in mind, more than half of these students didn't even pass an SOL when they were in 5th grade, and these are the results that we got out of these students, and that was due to the approach, that was due to the relationship that these teachers had with the students, and just the whole support that they received from student support services as well as Communities in Schools. They really got like the whole well-rounded approach to teaching and learning that we should be doing with everyone. Now I'll go ahead and fast forward, because when we're talking about looking at our potential dropouts on the middle school level, we're looking at attendance, behavior, and classwork. We're looking at students who have relatively, or not coming to school every single day. We're looking at schools who are students who have large behavior issues, and we're looking at students who are not performing academically the way they need to. Well, when we started doing our research for the upcoming class of 6th graders, we began to become really concerned very quickly, and this is why. Over 25% of our incoming 6th graders had 10 or more absences. Some of these students were coming to us with 40 absences. Some of these students were coming to us with more than 50 absences. In addition, though, when you look at the students' grades, we had 65% of the incoming 6th graders passing their SOL. However, when you look at their actual grades, only 1 student of all the 5th graders coming to us failed math. 1 single student. In addition, 20% of our incoming 6th graders scored below 425 in the 5th grade SOL. When we actually got our class for Team Acceleration all enrolled, and we got them in the building and did the Gates McGinnity test on them, we found out that only half of them read above a 3rd grade reading level. 4 of the students in Team Acceleration actually read on grade level, which is kind of, that's tough. So, as we were selecting Team Acceleration for this upcoming school year, we knew we needed more more than one section of teachers. So we developed 2 sections of Team Acceleration for the upcoming school year. In addition to the basic data-driven criteria that we gathered in the previous year, our school counselor had developed a basically watch list, or a watch program list, and it's the green sheet that you got today. And in addition to things like grades, reading difficulties, attendance issues, some of the other boxes included anger issues. Do students complete their homework all the time? Do they have strong peer relationships? Do they have poor peer relationships? How are they with time management? So these are all some of the softer side of the data, the qualitative side, that's really, really important in determining who's going to be a part of Team Acceleration. So this was just as helpful. We were able to be more prepared for these students coming into the building for the upcoming school year.
And that's a really good example of organizing that data so it informs your process as part of the data-driven.
It made it more helpful. So we expanded Team Acceleration to include 3 teachers instead of the 2. We have the teacher that was with us last year. She is now teaching math and science at Salem for us with Team Acceleration. And then we have another teacher who's teaching language arts and social studies. We have 1 section of Team Acceleration that is completely general ed, and then we have a collab section of Team Acceleration as well. Thus, the special ed teacher who goes back and forth between the 2 sections. We still have an interdisciplinary approach. The students still receive interventions from community and schools. They still receive the heightened support regarding student support services, so they still get those interventions. Now, when we talk about interventions at Salem, we do have a watch list. We currently have 73 or 74 students in 6th grade on our watch list, and those are students who have received at least 1 D or F. We have 23 students on our watch list who have more than 1 D or F. Those students have academic mentors, basically the check-in, check-out system. We also have Saturday session that we have available for our students, all our students in the building. We have Edmodo time, our computer lab time during lunches. Teachers have volunteered their time to help with that. During our game days, our basketball games, we have extended health sessions, and believe it or not, as a draw for the students, we tell them, if you're after school with a teacher that day and your teacher walks you down to the basketball game, you get in for free. And believe it or not, that's actually something that's really helped us out a lot. We have more students not necessarily paying for basketball, but we get them in the building and they're staying after with the teacher. The parents love it because there's someone watching them until 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's a win-win all around, especially where we're the earlier school. And last but not least, we have our ESOL students. And though our ESOL program is very large, we only have 1 teacher and we have an instructional aide. So she's also working with our ESOL students regarding small group pullout and interventions through all the ESOL classes. So when you're considering doing a smaller program like this within your building, you need to consider assessing your needs. You need to think about what worked last year might not necessarily work for the teachers that you have in your building this year. Secondly, look at your resources. Basically everything that I mentioned, except for the SOAR program, does not cost us any money. The Saturday program we actually get from Safety Net money because we do pay teachers their time on Saturday mornings. In addition, you need to make sure you have the right teachers in this program. You know you have your teachers in the building that are better working with establishing relationships with students than others. You want the ones that will take the time to build that strong relationship with the kids. And then last, you need to know what motivates these students. And what's very interesting is that even those students where teachers have said in the past, while nothing motivates them, when they have a mentor or someone who's watching out for them, they become more motivated just for the simple fact that there's someone else who's watching out for them. And as we've started mentoring students within our building, and this is something I've talked with teachers about, they tell me that there's more of an impact when you're mentoring a student that you don't necessarily teach. It's one more person in the building that's watching out for you and caring for you. And then I think it was Midlow or someone was saying before that also on the disciplinary side, the mentor isn't necessarily being the disciplinarian as well.
Right.
So that's really helpful. I gave you handouts today, but if you want anything in electronic format, go ahead and email me and I will send them out to you.
Thank you very much. And Lauren's going to do speed talking to talk to us about James River. Sure. And, because I know we're running low on time.
Okay,
I
sure.
had actually forgotten with this group here, the data-driven reflection survey, I had mentioned with the high school group, to jot down your takeaways on here. So if you can think of one takeaway, we're gonna ask for one takeaway from each table when Lauren is done, okay? So
Okay.
you think it.
Good morning, I'm Laura Falcon. I'm assistant principal at James River, and I'm very excited to be here. Our program is very new. It started after the October presentation, after I heard everything from Adrienne, and we just ran back to the building and wanted to copy everything that she said. So what we did is we met with our admin team and our counseling team and said, who are the students that we should select for this program? We looked at students that weren't here on September 4th and those students that had the most absences in the month of September, students that needed verified credits, and the most students that needed SOL tests. We also looked at students that had low GPAs through the course of their high school career up until that point. We determined that there were about 45 students that met that criteria, and we said that's a little excessive in our first attempt at this. So we limited that group into about 24 that had the most need. And so what we did in the course of a week, we called it our war room, just like Bird. And in the first week of November, we invited these students to, we sent out invitations and said, you're invited to a very special presentation. We got together in the library and we had a motivational talk. We invited them with food, and we got together and we said, you're a part of this really special group this senior year, and the ultimate goal is to have you walk across the stage on June 7th. They looked around at their peer colleagues and said, wait a minute, I've never been invited to something special before. You know, am I in trouble? Who are you? Because I'm a new administrator in the building. I'm like, you know, what's this all about? And we said, you know, the whole goal in working together this year is to have you graduate. You know, you have the camaraderie of your peers here. You also are going to have a mentor. And they're like, what? I've never had a mentor. This is so cool. We actually asked them to write down if they had a faculty mentor or if they had a faculty member that they've been close to over the years. Some of them put down like the school nurse, or we actually had a custodian that they've been close to. And so we actually approached those faculty members over the next couple days before we unveiled it at our November faculty meeting. That's the timeline over this whole process. That was in November. And so that's where it was unveiled in November. Kids were super psyched. Also in that first session, we had them put on the cap and gown, which they were really excited about. We printed off like glossy photos. Some kids have come back to me and said, I have it on my fridge, or I have it on my mirror, so I can look at it every morning. Then what we've done is at the end of that first quarter, we've just been tracking their attendance, their discipline referrals, and then their GPA, and we reported all that information out to their mentors, which, by the way, is completely voluntary. Our teachers have a lot on their plates, just like all of your teachers do in their buildings, so we didn't want to force people to do this. Then what we did, which was something really exciting, all of your schools are doing great things with variations of this program. We thought it would be really fun to bring our kids back, and since this is sort of like a special club for them, since our kids haven't really been involved in anything school-wide, what we did is we brought them back together this month, and our guest speaker was our College and Career Center and our testing coordinator, Karen Brown, and she was our guest speaker for how to get a job. And it was really awesome. Jeff provided breakfast, because you have to bring food. I mean, it's what brings people together. And kids loved it. We have AEP, which is our academic enrichment period that's built into the day. So kids didn't have to miss any class period. And they loved like I said, the idea of getting together. It was 40 minutes. And she talked about how to present yourself for an interview, how to write a resume, how to fill out a job application. And so some of our kids have jobs now, but no matter what, they're going to graduate. That's just non-negotiable. But then it's a matter of what you will do after you graduate high school. And then our guest speaker for this month is a student who graduated last year who was kind of once in their shoes. And that's our topic for February. And then what we're doing is we're asking our students, what would you like to have as your guest speaker for the rest of the year? So we're psyched about that.
such beautiful examples of student engagement. You know, if you're going back to things that are meaningful and important and relevant for them, and engaging their input into the process, and you really did a wonderful job of pulling them in.
Thanks. Well, it's a work in progress, and every time we come to these, we get more ideas. And just in hearing today, I've written down a ton of things of ways that we can improve. So thank you.
Speaking of which, we want to get a takeaway from each of the tables. We'll give you a chance really fast to talk to each other and then come up with one takeaway for each table. We know everybody's going to say that this is really exciting. Data tools are wonderful. So we can all say that plus one other takeaway, okay? So we don't need to keep repeating that one, all right? That wasn't being part of it. Okay, so talk to each other about one takeaway. We're going to share out. Table 8 really fast.